Hi, this is John at Faith 101. Yesterday on Facebook I made a post about possible future videos for Faith 101, and one of the ideas I had got quite a vocal response from both sides of the camp. And that idea was, what can Christians learn from other faiths, other philosophies, other religions? And I thought I would do the first one of those, and that is, what can Christians learn from Zen mindfulness? So Zen is a strand of Buddhism. It came from India to China to Japan to the West. It arrived in the West maybe 100 years ago, became really sort of popular 50 years ago. And it's interesting, it's not something we know a lot about. It hasn't really absorbed into our culture, into the mainstream. Our culture is very focused on the future, on what we're going to do, on all the anxieties about that, on the past, on issues of guilt we have about that. And what we don't do is spend a lot of time in the present. And Zen mindfulness is that. It's living in a constant present tense. My brother Brian has a watch, and he took the hands off the watch, and it just says now, and that's his Zen watch. And that concept that you're constantly living in the now, I think is something that has a lot of uses, particularly to a Christian life. If we believe that we are indwelt by the Holy Spirit, and we think God is trying to talk to us through the Holy Spirit, we'd better learn to shut up. We are not a culture that does well with silence. We are not a culture that does well with mindfully being aware of the present. And I think within Christian belief, it's easy to see how, if we were aware of the present, if we were trying to create patterns of silence in our mind, and just in terms of keeping out the future and all the anxieties about that, and the past and all the regrets and burdens of that, and just thinking, what does God want out of me right now? Right now in this instance. Don't think, oh my gosh, God has all these plans for me and that's too much, or oh my gosh, I didn't do all those things God wanted me to do, but literally, okay God, it's this moment, what do you want? I think the fruits of the Spirit that we could exhibit, the amount of God's work that we could do in terms of exhibiting joy and compassion and self-control and kindness and generosity, these are things that would really change the way we interact with the world. About 50% of British people identify as Christians. A little under a third of the entire world population identify as Christians. Imagine if we all got tuned in to thinking, right now, what does God's kindness, God's love, God's generosity, God's patience, God's compassion, what does that look like? If I'm exhibiting that right now, how does that change the way I do this? In every moment. The world would be a different place. And so, I think yes, I think as a Christian, if I look at a Zen Buddhist and how they feel about the present tense and how they feel about mindfulness, I feel I have something to learn. Thanks for watching.